who makes this right to play the boy in the
Of the lack of
wheelchair.
recognition of
The
neurodiverse
only thing
women.
they are is disabled, and it's so focused on that, and so focused on like disabled is bad, or being disabled needs to be fixed.
When it comes to autism, like myself, there tends to be these kind of tropes that it falls into. It's usually a guy. They're usually an expert with maths or science, and it's so much more complicated than these kind of stereotypes.
Oftentimes when disabled people are part of the storyline, the only time that really happens tends to be when their storyline either ends with them being cured in some manner, or ending with them either like passing, or having some sad final ending that doesn't really depict anything positive about disability.
Representation matters because there's been so many studies that show what kind of we grow up with as children and become adults with, they can influence how we feel about ourselves and what we deem as kind of normal, what we deem as good. And when you don't see someone like yourself, it can be incredibly damaging to you as a person.
People didn't really believe me when I told them that I was neurodiverse, and when I told them about the challenges that I face as someone who has ADHD, especially as a woman.
The only thing they are is disabled, and it's so focused on that, and it's so focused on like disabled, like being disabled is bad, or being disabled needs to be fixed, rather than like the person being a whole thought out character and also is disabled.
I'm not a hyperactive little boy. I was a hyperactive little girl who displayed symptoms her whole life, but because of the lack of recognition of neurodiverse women, my symptoms were only addressed, and I really only understood why my brain was so weird and so different at a point in my life where it was helpful for me to know, but I always imagine what it would have been like if I would have known sooner.
The way we see the final product on the screen is the result of somebody creating that image of a person with a disability. So the change needs to happen at the creative level.
I think media is a powerful thing that sometimes I think we take for granted. And I think if you're going to use disabilities as someone's storyline, make sure you do it right, because you can cause a big misconception about it, or folk get the wrong information.
I would have accepted myself a lot more, but I don't think it would have changed the way people understand me and the way they understand me as a neurodiverse woman. If people are still telling me that I don't have it, or I'm not disabled, or anything like that, or that it's not to be taken seriously, because it is. I just think portrayals of women who have this are so scarce that people just don't believe us. People just don't want to hear what we have to say.
Disability is what is living with disability, how varied our lives are, how diverse we are, how rich our lives can be, how much fun we can have, regardless of our disabilities. They will pigeonhole a person with a disability either as the deviant criminal killing everybody, or the super giggly person always, making the bloopers and being the comic relief.
My little sister who has autism, I'm terrified every time I open my computer and I look at what representations exist of autism.
I think you need to have more role models. I think you need to have more pioneers. They are the game changer of the industry. If you've got somebody who has exceptional talent, that will really get people sitting up and talking.
What I've often heard from people in like the biz, if you will, is like there just aren't disabled people acting, so we have to get Drake to play the boy in the wheelchair.
It terrifies me to know that maybe one day she's gonna try to latch onto something that represents her as a disabled woman operating an ableist society. She'll find nothing but what people think and expect her to be, and that's not who she is.
I think it's important for disabilities to be represented in film and TVs because it's a great way of raising awareness and make it clear, hey, there's different disabilities out there, let's give them a space to talk about it and portray it in an accurate way, because it can help people. It can give people reassurance. If the character can do it, then why the hell can I not do it?
Oftentimes I will see calls for women between the ages of 35 or 30 and 35, and like, even though like I identify as that type of woman, like I will know that like that's not what I am. Like I can only go to calls that are like for visibly disabled people.
I want to address the problem so that we can find a solution. And so one day she'll turn on a TV or she'll go to the movies and she'll see herself in a character, and other people will start seeing her differently as someone who deserves to have a voice and who deserves to take a meaningful place in society as a disabled woman.